One of pro wrestling's most intense rivalries of 2017, in my opinion, was that between Cody Rhodes and Moose. In this Impact Wrestling episode that took place in March, Moose was scheduled to go up against Eli Drake, but instead of the triumphant, crowd-pleasing entrance that he usually makes, Cody Rhodes emerges from behind him with a metal chair in hand, and cracks it hard against Moose's back. The next few minutes are not pretty for Moose, as Cody picks him up, stuffs his face beneath his armpit, and delivers his crossroads on the big man. You can imagine that this has got to be pretty humiliating for Moose. This man is 6'5" and weighs in at 300 pounds, and he knows how to make an entrance. He wears Under Armour compression shorts and shiny pro trunks to show off every inch of muscle he's got, but without even a moment's notice, he's down on the ground laying lifeless with his ass to the camera. To make matters worse, the cameraman crouches down and shows how vulnerable a 300-pound ex-footballer can look. With Moose's head between his feet, Cody cockily poses with his belt, like a game hunter showing off his skill for the day, then walks away to leave Moose alone with his stinging injuries. Being the professional athlete he is, Moose eventually stumbles to his feet and wants to start his match with Eli Drake despite the beatdown he just received. But he is overcome with pain and is forced to limp backstage with the help of the officials. This entire scene was very impactful to me. On face value, in the leery world of pro wrestling, it's not uncommon for wrestlers to use cheap tactics to take down their rivals. But there was something especially powerful about this scene. Moose truly did not deserve this beatdown. All Moose did was to protect Cody's wife from attackers when Cody was out of the country. But instead, Moose's kindness triggered Cody's intense jealousy and perhaps a feeling of inferiority, helped by stereotypes about the sexual virility and endowment of the black man.
You have his number? You're not a friend. You are a perfidious slut.
That's the kind of man Cody is.
Oh! And Cody all over Moose! Is this really happening? A Brandy and now Crossroads!
You see, Cody Rhodes is a self-proclaimed dashing athlete coming from a celebrated pro wrestling family, and he represents the epitome of privilege in the wrestling business. You'll probably remember that he was part of a group called The Legacy in the late 2000s. Along with Randy Orton and Ted Dibiase Jr., they were three handsome and fresh-faced second-generation superstars who had quite the leg up on the other young guys breaking into the pro wrestling spotlight, all thanks to the last names that their famous daddies gave them. In comparison, Moose's upbringing was much less noteworthy. Starting as a football player in high school, he eventually developed this into a 6-year professional football career, and then took everything he learned in the field to transition into being a pro wrestling star. His story has been about nothing but good old-fashioned perspiration. In this moment, with Moose laying lifeless at Cody's feet, I couldn't help but see it as a metaphor for racial relations and social standing in modern-day America. An earnest black man who, despite his physical might, has been downed by a power-hungry but smaller white man who wields great influence. It's a provocative image that reminded me of a dark event in recent American history. The tragic and unjust death of Eric Garner in 2014 at the hands of white cops who literally choked him until he breathed his last breath. Many argued that this was a case of a man whose inconsequential actions led to his demise by the force of cops who were intimidated by his physical might and skin color. You may think that I'm taking this too far. This is pro wrestling after all, and wrestlers of all races attack each other. But seeing this encounter between Cody and Moose made me think, do Black Lives Matter in pro wrestling? Nowadays, there's a lot of discussion in internet forums and the media about the lack of representation of non-whites, as well as a push for more positive depictions of minorities that steers clear of tired stereotypes. In the few decades that I've enjoyed watching wrestling, there have been no shortage of black wrestlers who enjoyed time in the spotlight. To name a few, there was the charismatic Booker T who fought with the absolute best of them, ass-kicking jocks like Shelton Benjamin who has real grappling credentials, entertaining crowd pleasers like Kofi Kingston. There was David Otunga, a Harvard-educated wrestler with discerning tastes in fashion, and a brain that is as well developed as the muscles on his body. There's Titus O'Neil, a well-to-do businessman intent on developing a worldwide brand, and even the WWE's first openly gay wrestler, Darren Young. The list goes on. So there doesn't seem to be an issue with the lack of black wrestlers. As 13% of the population in America, the representation in the WWE seems appropriate. But as many people on the interwebs have stated, why has there been only one black champion ever, despite there being so many capable black wrestlers? And especially the highly coveted WWE Championship, never held before by a black man but 13 times by John Cena alone. Here's my hunch. At the end of the day, the WWE is a business, and they want the WWE Champion to be earned by a man that the crowd finds likable and handsome, someone that you can imagine gracing billboards for the WWE all around the world. A face, in wrestling terms. Even a pretty boy when he started off. He shouldn't have a very obvious gimmick, and certainly never a corny one.
Yo, 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 yo.
This is why I don't think just any representation of black wrestlers is a good thing. I'm quite critical of gimmicks like Cryme Tyme that play off a damaging stereotype. If you remember them, they were a tag team that literally cheated and stole, and even though they were somewhat popular, it's precisely a gimmick like this that will ensure that they will never become champions. Heck, even one of the members of Cryme Tyme, JTG, wanted eventually to break away from this gimmick. And when he did, he emerged as a damn handsome face, wearing a nice pair of pro trunks that he knew he would need to squeeze into if he wanted to climb that ladder. A guy like him could have gone very far if the WWE had truly respected his talent. Unfortunately, there's a tag team in the WWE right now called the Street Profits that seems just like a watered down version of Cryme Tyme. They don't overtly commit crime, but they have rubbed other wrestlers the wrong way, such as by trying to pass off other people's wealth as their own. While they are becoming more popular, as evidenced by their diverse array of fans, I'm sure that they will eventually meet the fate of Cryme Tyme. In wrestling entertainment, there's going to be questionable characters portrayed of all races, but for black wrestlers who already have to put up more of a fight to even hope to become a WWE champion, a gimmick like the Street Profits will simply relegate you to being a sideshow. There is one man on the roster whose future looks incredibly bright and has all the qualities and the talent to become a WWE champion. His name is Cedric Alexander. I doubt that there are many people out there who don't find Cedric to be a handsome man. His gear is colorful, expressing his optimism and purity of character, not to mention the beautiful contrast that they create with his milk chocolatey skin. Plus, he's got a killer smile that makes you melt inside. Even before he climbs into the ring, you can sense that he's a guy that you want to root for. You might think that a guy like him with a thick and sturdy build is more of a bruiser than anything else. But you'd be mistaken as Cedric can spin his body through the air to launch attacks as if he was a spinning top, right after wrapping his opponents in tight holds with his thick legs and powerful arms, just like the best grapplers. In short, he's got it all, and he deserves one day to be able to fight his way up to earning the highest honor in the WWE. I eagerly await that day in the future, to see the WWE Champion's belt around Cedric's waist.